Welcome to Force Financial. I'm your host, Commander Dave, and today we're going to talk about the opening space battle of The Last Jedi and why it's freaking awful. So the movie starts with the rebels evacuating their home planet, their home base, and this was the base we saw in Force Awakens, which launched the attack on Starkiller Base, which was successful. So a lot of people thought, oh, wow, they destroyed Starkiller Base, they got the First Order on the run. But no, apparently just the opposite is the situation. Apparently the First Order has now already won the war. The Republic is being dismantled. The First Order is moving in, taking over. None of this makes any sense, all right? But let's not even go down there because we could spend 5 minutes talking about why the world building here is awful. But anyway, so they're evacuating the planet. They know any moment the First Orders could arrive and stop them. So they're really rushing and they're saying, "I'll leave everything behind. Just get everybody on board the transports. Let's get out of here." So then they look up in the sky and they see 3 Star Destroyers appear. And General Hux is on board one of the Star Destroyers. These are Resurgent class Star Destroyers, which are very powerful Star Destroyers. And against them is the Radis, which is about the same size of a Resurgent class Star Destroyer, but not as well armed, but it is well shielded. And then you have 3 small support ships. So already the First Order has a firepower advantage with these 3 Resurgent-class Star Destroyers. So you're expecting, okay, here we go. We're going to get a space battle. They're going to move in. We're going to have a fight. And then Hux sets it up with a little speech. And this is a direct quote. "I have my orders for Supreme Leader Snoke himself. This is where we snuff out the Resistance once and for all. Tell Captain Canny to prime his dreadnought. Incinerate their base, destroy their transports, and obliterate their fleet." So those are his orders. Snoke himself has told him to destroy the Resistance once and for all. That is what he's here to do. And then as soon as he says this, the Dreadnought appears. Because remember, he's mentioning the Dreadnought and Captain Canny. We haven't actually seen the Dreadnought or met Captain Canny yet, but now a few seconds later, the ship comes out of hyperspace and there's the Dreadnought. Okay, so now we got our Dreadnought in place. Okay, now we can start the battle, right? But wait a minute. A lone X-Wing fighter is approaching the Imperial fleet. And instead of just destroying it, because remember, we were just told by Hux his orders are to destroy the Resistance, he decides to take the communication from this X-Wing. And it's Poe on the line, and this is another quote from Hux in the initial conversation. "Tell your precious princess there will be no terms, there will be no surrender." Well, if that's the case, why is he having this conversation? Why not just destroy this X-Wing? Why aren't they already firing on the Rebel fleet? None of this makes sense. It doesn't compute because their mission, his orders are to destroy them. Yet he's not doing anything. They're sitting there with 4 Star Destroyers, not doing anything. Meanwhile, the Rebels are still getting their transports off the planet. So then we have, and this scene with Hux and Poe, I actually timed it, goes on for 90 seconds, a minute and a half. And it's just this bad comedy that ends in this joke where Poe says, "I have an urgent message for Hux. Tell him it's about his mother." What? A mother joke? Really? And then, of course, we have the cell phone joke where he can't hear him. "Can you hear me now?" I mean, this is in the opening scene. This is a Star Wars movie, and we get a cell phone joke and a your mother joke. And then one of the Imperial officers says, "Sir, I believe he's tooling with you." Tooling? Who says tooling? What does that even mean? So, I mean, already I'm like sitting there in the theater thinking, what is going on here? I'm having flashbacks to Revenge of the Sith, which I also thought was a terrible, terrible opening. And I never would think that a Star Wars movie would top how bad that opening scene was. But you know what? We're already on our way for the worst opening scene in Star Wars. So finally, then Hux then yells after getting the mother joke. He then yells, quote, "Open fire." But nobody opens fire. None of the Star Destroyers open fire. Instead, Poe attacks the Dreadnought and starts to strafe the guns. And the guns now start to shoot back, but only the Dreadnought guns. The 3 Resurgent-class Star Destroyers haven't fired a shot yet, despite Hux saying open fire. So I don't know what's going on with those guys. No one's launched TIE fighters yet. Finally, after a couple of the guns are destroyed, Captain Canny finally says, "Get our TIE fighters out. They should have been launched 5 minutes ago." Well, duh. So this is another stupid thing. So the Imperials know that the Rebels' principal weapon of war is the X-Wing fighter. You know, that's the most deadly ship the Rebels have in their arsenal. You know, their capital ships really aren't as good. Their fighters are really where the strength of the Rebels are. A-Wings, X-Wings. I don't know if they have big wings. They probably have big wings because there's no imagination here. But the fighters are what's really powerful. So if you're an Imperial fleet, the first thing you want to do is launch a fighter screen. That's just logic, right? Because you got to stop these X-wings because they're really powerful because they have proton torpedoes and so on. But no one does this here. So instead, Poe is attacking the Dreadnought, taking out the surface guns. And this Dreadnought's huge. It's 7,000 kilometers, I think, but it only has 24 surface guns. So it doesn't make any sense who designed this thing. And these guns are a little confusing too, because if you see them, they're not turbo lasers. They don't look like anti-ship guns. They look like anti-fighter guns, but yet they're too slow to track the X-wing. So it doesn't really make any sense what these guns really are for, since they're not good against capital ships, and they certainly can't take down even one starfighter. So the design just doesn't make any sense. And again, the resurgent class Star Destroyers aren't doing nothing. So finally, then Poe is. Then the fighters come, and one of the TIE fighters hits Poe, and his guns go out. But there's one cannon left that he has to destroy. So then we get another comedy routine, because you can't have any serious things in this movie without a comedy routine coming in. We get BB-8 now playing whack-a-mole, trying to get the circuits to work to get the guns to work. And finally, he decides, screw it, and bashes his head against the circuit board. And somehow this repairs the guns to fire, or, fixes the circuits, whatever. I mean, who even knows? It's just, this reminded me of the Buzz Droid scene in Revenge of the Sith, another stupid scene that is just there for, R2 to have his moment. But at least, R2 does this thing with the zap thing, but BB-8 now banging his head against the circuit board. I mean, is this supposed to be funny? I don't even know. So finally destroy this last cannon. And Poe's like, okay, great. We got the last cannon, because if we don't take out this last cannon, our bombers are toast. And that's another quote. We got to take out this last cannon, our bombers are toast. So getting rid of that cannon now should clear the way, right? The bombers are going to come in. They're going to swoop in. They're going to take out this Dreadnought. So the bombers come out of hyperspace. They're escorted with more X-wings and A-wings. And suddenly we realize the bombers are moving at 5 miles an hour, it looks like. I mean, you couldn't go any slower for a spaceship if you tried. I don't even understand the design of these things. Remember, the Rebels had Y-wing fighters 30 years ago. Actually, that Y-wing goes back to the Clone Wars. It's actually a 50-year-old technology. Where are the Y-wings? Where are the B-wings? This is what they have? This is their bomber, which flies, literally... I mean, I'm saying 5 miles an hour because I can't explain it any more than this. I mean, they're slow as crap. And then the Dreadnought may not be surface guns, but all these TIE fighters are in the air. So what was the plan then? How are they going to take out these TIE fighters? And of course, the TIE fighters start to destroy the bombers. And then this one comical scene, one TIE fighter's wing gets, the TIE fighter blows up and its wing falls off and it hits one of the bombers. And this literally takes out 3 bombers, this one wing, this one debris. And that's how weak these bombers are. Do they have shields? Are they armored? It doesn't make any sense. And of course, you still have 3 Resurgent class Star Destroyers, which should be firing on these bombers too. And they should be destroyed in 1 minute. There shouldn't even be a battle here. It's a joke. The other funny thing about this scene is Princess Leia wants Poe to retreat. Once he got the Hux to delay the attack, the last of the rebels got off the planet. Now there's no reason for the rebels to be there. And she's like, let's get out of here, let's go. And Poe's like, no, we got to destroy this Dreadnought, because Dreadnoughts are fleet killers. And this is interesting, because the movie makes a point here. Here's a quote from Poe. No, General, we can do this. We have a chance to take down a Dreadnought. These things are fleet killers. We can't let it get away. So think about that. That the Dreadnought is a really powerful ship, apparently. I mean, it's a fleet killer. And where Poe then later says, it's not every day we get a shot at a Dreadnought, so make this count. So destroying a Dreadnought is a big deal. So when Leia's telling him to retreat, that seems kind of stupid, because in this, we're just learning about the Dreadnought, so we don't know anything about it, but we're being told more than once how critically important these ships are and how powerful they are. So if you do get a chance to destroy one, you should take it. So Poe makes the right decision here to press the attack, thinking he has an advantage. Now, we already just said this attack is suicide anyway, because it makes no sense, because just taking out the surface guns of the Dreadnought wouldn't allow this attack to succeed. There's still 3 Star Destroyers that can cover the Dreadnought. There's all these TIE fighters. I mean, the whole thing is nonsensical. But in Ryan Johnson's world, this attack has a chance to succeed. And if we're going to accept that premise, then Poe's right to press this attack because look, the gamble's worth it. You lose 5 bombers to destroy a dreadnought. That seems like a good trade. So anyway, but Leia's ship can leave now. There's no reason to stay there. And then you might say, wait a minute, doesn't she have to get the fighters? Poe's X-wings and A-wings? No, because X-wings and A-wings, they have hyperspace. They can go in hyperspace themselves. And this is a really weird part of the movie because there's no reason for the Rebel fleet to be here anymore. They should just leave. Let Poe do his attack. That's fine. But there's no reason to have the Raddus sitting there. And then we're getting this countdown of 40 seconds to fire the Dreadnought guns. Why is the Raddus still there? Why aren't they in hyperspace already? Again, it's just nonsensical. And they just do this, of course, for tension because, they got, oh my God, are they going to be able to destroy the Dreadnought in time before it takes out the Raddus? But we already know the Raddus doesn't have to be there. It could just go to hyperspace right now. So so that's stupid. So finally, we have one bomber left, slowly, painfully flying across the Dreadnought to get to the middle, because apparently that's where the bombs have to be dropped. Now, I know or read that this is in a video game, that the sweet spot, as they call it in the movie, is revealed in this video game. That's why they need to get to the center, because you think, why can't they just drop the bombs immediately once they get out, the tip of it? But they have to get to the center. And the bomber's just flying in a straight line. It's not dodging anything because these things are slow as mud. So what are they going to do? Hux and his 3 Star Destroyers could easily blow this ship up, but they don't. Who knows why? I mean, no one cares. And then we see the pilot get killed. A TIE fighter hits the cockpit. So the pilot's dead. The only person left alive on this bomber is the gunner. Now the bombardier, who's in the middle of the ship, somehow is dead or unconscious. I don't believe they show how that happened. Did the guy hit his head? He's wearing a helmet. I don't know. I mean, again, who cares? So, and this character turns out to be Rose's sister. Of course, we don't even know who this character is. We just know her name is Paige. And what's weird about this scene, too, is Poe is yelling for Paige, but she's not the pilot. She's the gunner. Wouldn't you be yelling at the pilot? Why haven't you dropped your bombs? Paige is just the gunner. She has nothing to do with the bombs or the piloting of the ship. So anyway, she scrambles up to the top, and then they have this weird remote control device that looks like an old 1970 TV remote. There's a nice big red button in it that you press to drop the bombs. Apparently, this is how you do it. You don't have there's no computer screen or other device to do this or voice activation. It's just this one red button. You press this red button and the bombs drop. Again, it's just silly. And then finally, the bombs drop. And then for some reason, the bomber, which is, remember, the cockpit is destroyed, the pilot is dead, the bomber is going in a straight line. But when the bombs drop, we see the bomber start to fall, and it falls into the explosion, which kind of begs the question: did the explosion destroy the bomber, or did the bomber just lose control because again, it has no cockpit now, it's blown up. So does it just fall into the explosion, or is this sort of poorly designed that these bombers get destroyed by their own bombs? Because that's kind of how it looks. When you watch the scene, it's like the explosion is so big and the bomber is so close to the Dreadnought that it looks like the explosion just gets to Dreadnought anyway. Like this is like a suicide mission. I mean, how do these bombers even work? Again, this is such a poorly designed scene. And we understand, that they're trying to invoke World War II bombers, and they have the bubble turret gun like a B-17, and that's all fine and dandy. But this is just nonsensical. It's just stupid. And then finally, Poe, then we have a dramatic scene where Poe lands in the landing bay of the Raddus, and then they go to hyperspace. As if Poe needs to do that. Again, the X-Wing fighter has hyperspace. We saw that on The Force Awakens. They use hyperspace to go to the Starkiller base. So again, why the dramatic landing? But that's the end of the scene. And I was just dumbfounded. I could not believe how dumb and stupid this whole scene was. From the stupid jokes to the nonsensical bombers, which made no sense from a design point of view. The other stupid thing is the Dreadnought targets the base first. The base isn't going anywhere. And in fact, the base has already been evacuated. Why didn't Captain Canning just target the Raddus initially? That would have been the end right there. It's just dumb. And, why isn't Hux already just destroy Poe out of the space? The orders are to destroy the Resistance. Why? Nothing. I mean, everything in this scene is like, why? And it's just because the writer wanted it to happen this way. That's the only reason. There's no rhyme or reason to this scene. It doesn't work. And to me, the movie never recovered. I mean, every scene after this is just stupid and dumb. But for me, this is the worst opening of Star Wars, and I'm just dumbfounded that anybody thinks this is a good space battle. Well, that's it for today. I'm Commander Dave. See you next time.